Okay. Hello and good evening to all of you, Vlogga fam. I hope you're doing well and great this week. And coming into the year, alam ko medyo nakapagod na yung mga news and balita, but we have to keep going. We have to keep our lives going. And as for that today, alam mo, I'm just so excited to talk to you about what this episode or this night and discussion is gonna be all about. And it's gonna be talking about a bit on the heavy side, sa paradigm shift, figuring out what veganism is. Because we all know that veganism is somehow a diet, and a lot of people misconstrue the idea of a diet, veganism, to a lot of things as a mere diet. And today I'll be joined by none other than an amazing guest, Dr. Stef de la Cruz. Dr. Stef de la Cruz is the founder of Vegan X or Vegan Times Movement, an organization that aims to turn the X or times percentage or X percentage of the population into vegans. She is the head editor of Manila Bulletin's Animal Scene magazine, and she also has her own website, stefdelacruz.com, and it was the reason why MIMS hailed her as one of the top doctor bloggers in the Philippines. She is a Hall of Famer at the 2015 Philippine Blogging Awards. Okay, so without letting you wait all, introduce natin, ipakilala natin ating visitor or our speaker for tonight is Miss Dr. Stef de la Cruz. Okay.
Hello, Adrian. Thank you for that introduction. And hello, Blogger fam. Thank you for tuning in and listening in.
Oh my goodness, thank you so much for joining us for tonight. And it's a very, very noble thing for you to do, to tell us more about what veganism is. And I'm sure there's a lot of questions coming out for you there. But before that, how are you doing and how has your 2021 been, Dr. Steffi? Steph?
Oh, well, it's been okay. I think I've had better days, but surviving. How about you?
Oh,
Kamusta?
likewise. I think sometimes that's all we could do, surviving. We've been talking about that the past few weeks, no? Ano parang 2021 seems to be an extension of everything, of like the
Right.
whole 2020 plague and all that. But good things, I hope, are coming to all of us. And as we
Mm-hmm.
discuss towards that, I think it's also timely, no? Mapag-uusapan natin what veganism is. Because
That's true.
at right, at as of this moment, we see our world somehow
Mhm.
actually crumbling in front of our
Right.
eyes, right? So,
Mhm.
and we have to do everything in our power to at least stop this from happening, prevent other chaotic things from happening. And I think veganism is one of them. So, can you tell us more about
About
what veganism is and what are
my
the
pleasure.
philosophies and principles that backs it up, and why is there such thing as veganism? Why, and you could tell us a little bit of the history as well if you want to.
Okay. So, you mentioned yung dystopian nature ng ating mundo ngayon, no, Adrian? And I think it's
Yes.
important that we view veganism in this context as well, because it seems we're running out of time.
Yeah.
So, we have to remember that when we talk about veganism, it's all about liberation. So, let me tell you a little bit about what what it means. Well, there are several definitions of veganism when you look in Google, when you search for its dictionary definitions, but it has to be seen beyond this, because when it comes to novel or complex ideas that seek to dismantle more common ideas and systems, it helps if we know more about its context, like you mentioned, its history and its vision. So let's
Yes.
rewind and go back 80 years in 1944, when Donald Watson, who was the person who founded the Vegan Society, first defined veganism. He said it is a philosophy and a way of living which
Hmm.
seeks to exclude, as far as is possible and practical, all forms of exploitation and cruelty to animals, whether they are used for food, clothing, or any other purpose. And by extension, promotes the development and use of animal free alternatives for the benefit of humans, animals, and environment. Napaka, napakahabang definition. There's so much to
Yeah.
unpack, right? But in other words, veganism is not a diet. It is not the same as vegetarianism. Veganism is an ethics based movement that intersects with other social justice issues, and it is based on the realization that animals are not ours to use. So, Vegans don't want to eat or wear or consume or use animals, but notice that the definition that I mentioned focuses on actions alone. And therein lies the problem because this definition does not encompass how we think about animals. Many people have tried to hijack the definition of veganism for this very reason, saying that as long as we don't act in a way that causes animals any harm, it doesn't matter if we still think of them as objects and materials. And while this may be true at face value, kumbaga, it doesn't matter if you think an animal is an object as long as you don't harm it at first glance, we now have to dig deeper into veganism's purpose, why it exists, why it's
Okay.
for. And the end goal of veganism is understandably a vegan world. We want the world to go vegan. And that vegan world is not going to happen. It's not going to drop on our laps without us shifting paradigms. And you know
Mhm.
what? Paradigm shifts aren't going to happen without a change in mindset. So we have
Yes,
to change how we think about animals first. So for
exactly.
veganism, right, yeah. So for veganism to be defined as clearly as possible, we need to remember the end goal. We need to remember that the reason veganism exists is because humans like us believe that we are superior to other species. And this pattern of thinking and behavior, which is so harmful, is called speciesism. Now,
Okay. Okay.
speciesism, so speciesism assumes that one species is superior to others, so much so that this species also assumes that it is somehow morally okay to use and exploit other species just because they taste good as food or they look good as clothing or feel good as entertainment. So in this case, tayo yung may speciesist tendencies. Feeling natin superior tayo as a species compared to other non-human animals. So if we want to truly understand the meaning of veganism, we need to understand speciesism. We need to understand that it is a form of human supremacism. And as history has taught us, racism, sexism, and many other types of human oppression and injustice are fueled by this kind of human supremacism, di ba, Adrian?
I
So,
am wow. Like, sorry,
mm,
I'm just gonna little, bump a little over there. You see
mm,
how you told us that it is encompassing so many other social issues that we experience right now, and that is so cool to see that this all stems from one thing as we call speciesism that
mm,
makes us think that we are superior in a lot. So that was my like earlier we were talking about paradigm shifts, and that was one of the things because going into this discussion tonight, I was thinking, well, why do we like what like you we spend a what do you call that a I was thinking my thinking beyond this or up until now is maybe as long as I consume what is just allowed to be consumed, I think it's okay. Parang, especially on like animals, because parang the paradigm shift over there is that well, we've been doing that for X
a
number
long,
of
long
years
time,
since
right?
since the dawn of time, because
Mm,
it was the survival of the fittest. And up until now, that's what is being taught to us. So that's what
mm,
like the whole capitalist mindset. Buy, buy,
mm.
buy. The
Oh, I'm
more
so
that
glad
you
you
get
mentioned
this,
capitalist mindset.
yeah. Because going into this, I think that's still one of the reasons why a lot of us still don't change
Mm-hmm.
paradigms because capitalism forces us to compete with each other as races, as a race, as a species, as people. We are like getting to like pit to work on against each other, and that's
Right.
very very one of the roots. So can yeah, let's talk more about speciesism and how does this like how do we get like
Dismantle it.
going, yeah, how do
Mm-hmm.
we destroy this really deep rooted thing.
You're right. And I'm really glad that you mentioned capitalism and the capitalist mindset because that's one of the structures that intersectional vegans are trying to dismantle. Because for as long as these structures are present, for as long as they exist, people and animals and even the planet will continue to be oppressed. So once we understand that veganism is the antithesis of speciesism as well, we also understand that for a vegan world to happen, we need to dismantle all these structures that continue to support the growth of oppressive systems that are harmful to all of us. So, as you can see, Adrian, and to Blogger fam who are listening right now, the meaning of veganism is deeply rooted in our desire for liberation. So, we want to liberate not just animals, but humans as well. We are centered on animals because we are the only movement centering on animals, but we cannot do this just focusing on animals alone. We want to liberate everybody. And this is deeply rooted in our desire for, because of our sense of justice. And at this point, I'm sure that everybody listening in right now is starting to realize that veganism is definitely not just a diet.
Yeah. It is. It is a lifestyle. It is something that it really is gonna open you up to a lot. At least
Mhm,
this is something. This is great. Speciesism and all that. You
mhm.
have to. Yeah, that's a whole
Ang
whole thing to
daming kailangan
digest.
i-unpack, no?
I know. Like there's so many things that you have to understand. But I guess one takeaway here is that veganism is more than just eating
Mhm.
vegetables and not using items coming from animals or that's harmful
Yes.
to the environment. The way that if this is interconnected with a lot of things, it's because
Mhm,
it destroys a lot of the mindsets that we have that is so destructive for us
mhm.
as human beings. Okay, so let's like that's a whole lot of unpacking, but let's get
Yes.
going with the whole discussion. So how did you get into veganism? What pushed you and what inspired you to go to be a vegan? And can you tell us all about how the vegan times or X movement? So it's X, right? Vegan
Right,
X
it's
movement.
X. Mhm.
Yeah, so vegan X movement was inspired. Can you tell us your journey into veganism and all that?
Okay, so Adrian, I had a brush with death almost 3 years ago. I experienced severe pain that put me in the hospital for 10 days. And
Okay.
apparently, they found out that my small intestines had stopped working. So, when your gut stops working the way it did for me, the gases inside start to form and accumulate to the point of inflating the intestines like a balloon. So I looked like I was pregnant. Mukha talaga akong buntis because my insides were about to burst. I was about to pop. So it was the
Okay.
most painful thing I've ever experienced. And as someone who has already undergone surgery for an endometrioma that had caused me so much pain for 20 years, that's saying a lot about the kind of pain I experienced
Yeah.
around that time. So I'm embarrassed to say that out of my desperation, I used my doctor card. Sinabi ko, doctor friends, help me come up with a team of experts who could help me treat this and diagnose this. But even with a group of different specialists composed of gynecologists, surgeons, internists, may sonologists pa na tinawag, no? They couldn't pinpoint what was causing the pain. So the pain, which was 10 over 10 on the pain scale. So 10 yung
Okay.
pinakamasakit and
Ouch.
10
Yeah.
yung experience ko at the time, started to abate after 10 days. And at the time, since hindi nila malaman what was causing it anyway, so they couldn't treat me, there really wasn't anything they could do except put me under observation, diba? So eventually, they sent me home. Now at home, now before that pala, when I was in the hospital, sa sobrang sakit, I even asked my boyfriend at the time to help me kill myself na lang. Sabi ko,
Okay.
hindi pwedeng mabuhay ako ng ganito kasi hindi ko kaya. Imagine not being able to sleep, not being able to eat. All you can think about is that it's so friggin' painful. Ayoko na. I mean, I wasn't even depressed. I didn't have depression. I wanted to survive. I wanted to live. But the pain is just too much and they couldn't tell me what it was. They didn't know when it would end. So, paano na yun? Alam nga namang mabuhay ako na ganun na lang parate, di ba? So,
Yes.
I was happy that eventually the pain went down to 7. Masakit pa rin. I mean, it's like,
7 is still high. Above 5
yes,
is still really high on the pain scale. I mean, that's no joke. Reaching a 10
right,
is very, overwhelming. I mean,
right.
that's just the word, but I'm sure it's more than that. Yes.
Mhm. Oo, mataas pa rin yung 7. So, eventually, they sent me home kahit na masakit pa rin kasi nga wala ngang silang magagawa. And recovery was difficult. It was slow. And I realized that, you know what, this might be it. This might be what would kill me. And whatever it was, it's going to make me die prematurely one day. So I started rethinking life. Its meaning. Why am I here? What can I do? And I didn't want my last memories of life as something sad, as something I couldn't help lose. So I wanted to see life thrive outside of me if I can't see my life thrive. So I started gardening. So when I started gardening, I saw insects, bees, butterflies, birds. They were visiting my small garden, and I was reminded that there was so much life out there that I had pushed to the back of my mind as I tried to live my life. So there was something liberating about that experience. It was like I knew I was yearning for something, but I didn't know what. Ano ba yung hinahanap ko? Kasi meron eh. There was something
Mm-mm.
my soul wanted, but what was it? I didn't know at the time. And at that point, I started making my own plant milk. I started to make my own food. Since I was growing my own food, I started eating a lot of vegetables. And a friend told me that if I wanted to steer clear of animal products, there were many other ways I could do that. Hindi lang sa plant milk. So, um, well, like me, this friend of mine fostered, rescued, and adopted cats. She told me that some of the people in our cat community were already vegans. No? So these vegans started talking to me about veganism, and when they told me what it was like, that's it. Yun yung hinahanap ko. That's what I've been looking for. That's what I've been yearning to do. So they didn't even need to convince me that going vegan was the right thing to do. I knew it. I knew it in my heart. Um, that was when I started the major shift inside of me, the major
Mhm.
paradigm shift in my own mind that made me go vegan. Yun yung kwento, no? Medyo nag-start as something morbid, but something came out of it.
It was I mean that brush with death is always gonna change. Yung
Mm.
existential crisis that comes along with what is life? What is life gonna be? I
Why am
think
I here?
yeah, diba? I think this is also somehow a good time because a lot of us as of the moment also would actually feel this. Even ako up until now, even though I seem to be like on the point. Syempre, I still got to think about what is life? Like what am I supposed to do here? What am I
Mhm.
like it's the pandemic, the life
Right.
I wanna have is not moving
Mhm.
forward. I'm at the pause. I mean, there's so many things like that. But
Mm-mm.
parang when we get to think about that now, that's one thing. So when you got into that paradigm shift, what is something that could help other people push forward to that? Because that was you. That was that
Mhm.
willingness to understand. That was something you were really looking for. But what about for people na parang who just looks at this as a diet right now, but
Mhm.
what are like these specific what can you tell them to motivate them to do this more than just a diet? Because when they start this how when they some people when they say it's a diet, it's a fad kanyan, or they do this, they would probably break at the end of the day because syempre
Mhm.
it is as of that day or as of that moment they decided it was in a different intention. It was an
Mhm.
intention to lose weight, to become healthier. Well, that is the option, but there is so much more to veganism than just being healthy off of plants. This is a movement. This is a social act. This is your responsibility as a human being to the world to actually, live harmoniously with the people, right? I mean,
Right. It's an
it,
awakening.
it is. And
Mhm.
right now it's very hard. It's that kind of awakening is hard to attain because a lot of what is fed to us in society were numbers, we're mere views, we're mere likes, we're worth money, that's I grew up with that
Mhm.
mindset.
So
Success
did
is
I.
everything, diba? Like
Right.
success
Oh,
is everything, this is everything. So what
but
what what yeah, sorry, what is that click that you can tell us na parang
mm,
go veganism because this is what we need as what is that motivating line or
right.
what could be something to motivate us to do so.
So, before I answer that question, napanood mo na ba yung The Matrix na movie?
I've had bits and pieces. I forgot
Okay.
na napanood ko siya way before, but like yes, you can go explain it to us.
Okay. Kasi it was, matagal na kasi yun. Matanda na kasi ako, Adrian. So, when it first came out, it was all about how people were in this fake world.
Yes.
They were plugged into the system. Hindi pala yun yung totoong mundo nila, but they didn't know. But there was this person, si Neo, parang may napapansin siya sa mundo na parang may mga glitches, may mga kakaiba. And there was something about him that was special. So may nag-contact sa kanya si Morpheus. And Morpheus told him na if you want to know the truth, I can tell you all about it. And eventually, pinakita niya na oo nga, matrix lang nga, na naka-plug in lahat ng tao and they were basically living a comfortable life because it was a fake life. And at the end of that kind of revelation, sabi ni Morpheus, you know what, I can give you an option. You can choose between two pills, the red pill and the blue pill. Yung sa blue pill, if you take it, you'll go back to your old life. You won't
Normal
remember
life,
what,
yeah.
yes, and you won't remember what we talked about. So you stay plugged in the system. Or you can take the red pill and you can wake up and see what's going on. It's going to be ugly because sometimes the truth is ugly. But
Yes,
it's
it
going to be
is.
worth it if you wake up and realize that you're no longer a slave to the system. And Leo chose the red pill. But unfortunately, Adrian, for a lot of us, maraming pumipili pa rin ng blue pill. And there is a reason for that. So first, it helps to understand that even if a big part of going vegan is changing what we put on our plates, it is so much more than that. And it doesn't actually take willpower. Kasi akala ng iba, it's discipline. It's a matter of discipline na dapat kailangan mahindian ko yung karne ng baboy o yung laman ng baka para maging vegan ako. But no, it's about changing how we think of animals, that they're not objects, that they're not materials, they're not things. That just like the animals that we love in our homes, pigs, cows, chickens, fishes, they're living, breathing creatures who have their own desire to live, their own desire to be free. They have their own personalities, their own preferences, own quirks, even emotions. So they have their own internal worlds. And we already know this if we have animals in our homes. So this helps not only in understanding veganism, but it also in staying vegan. Because, like I said, a lot of people think that it's a matter of discipline, but it's not. Because once you stop seeing animals as objects, the meat in your refrigerator will start looking like cut up body parts of animals who died horrible deaths and lived horrible lives. And for what? Just so that we can have a moment of pleasure. So when we start to realize that that's what's going on, they will look like carcasses. Alam mo, pag tumitingin ako sa refrigerator, ang nakikita ko dati nung una ko naging vegan kasi hindi pa ubos lahat ng pagkain sa ref ko noon eh. So pag binubuksan ko nun, they all look like cadavers to me, cut up body parts, and I just can't eat them anymore because that's what meat is. It's cut up body parts of creatures who used to live and want to live. So in other words, we wouldn't eat animals anymore, not because we have willpower, but because we've opened our eyes and our hearts. So my view of food has changed, and that's what would happen if we try to understand veganism from the viewpoint of the victims who are the animals. It will no longer require willpower to stay away from barbecue or crispy pata or lechon. Anyway, there are vegan versions of all of these. It will
Yes.
just require our innate sense of justice, our inherent capacity to live in alignment with our values, our capacity to feel for other sentient beings. So basically, once you've opened your eyes, going
It
vegan is actually easy.
because you are open to the reality. You choose the red pill. If you choose the red pill,
Yes.
you understand. That is
Mhm.
such that's where okay, so yun pala yun. That's where the trend came from. I never knew, guys. I'm so sorry. Yung red pill and blue pill pala na trend comes from Matrix.
Yes.
I've watched it a few times, but like not really understand. I have to watch it as an adult. But Doc, you're speaking of no options like that. There's a question here by Miss Ace.
Mm. Yes.
There's a rising movement on plant-based meat. What are your thoughts on it? Because
There
like
is a, sorry, rising movement on
on
plant-based
plant-based
meat.
meat, yes,
Okay.
and there have been a lot of that. I've been hearing like others also like vegan dumplings. Vegan, when you
Mm.
say vegan, that's really cruelty-free, and like no, those are the words that they stick up with vegan. Even in the roller skating community, I'm a roller
Mm.
skater. So they're also very particular with vegan boots. They want it to be like, that is up until that extent. Ganun sila. So see, that is a lifestyle. It comes more than just the food. So, but this year, the question is, what are your thoughts on that?
Plant-based.
So,
Okay.
yun din. A follow-up din po pala dun is, she can be a vegan and still eat steak. Pero plant-based.
Based,
Yes,
right.
can you tell us
So,
more about
okay, so first, before I answer that question again, I want to discuss yung word na meat. In case you haven't noticed, parati ako nagko-quotation marks when I use the word
meat?
meat. Meat.
Yeah.
Kasi it's one way for the capitalist system, the systems in place, for us to not think about meat as actual dead animals. Kasi hindi naman masarap kainin yung, here's a dead pig's back served after it was cured. Di ba? We prefer bacon as a term, or hindi natin gustong sabihin na ito yung dating galing sa patay na hayop. Here, it's delicious. But
Or we
it's
use samgyup. Like, diba? See, Manang Cave, or, yeah, not to shame, but that is, diba? They make it seem marketable to the
yes, it's a
market. Yeah.
euphemism for something that sounds bad because it is bad. So that's how the animal agriculture and the animal industry has tried to normalize the use and the consumption of animals. Kasi it doesn't sound like we're causing the deaths of many billions of animals. So, okay, having said that, ang plant-based meat, it helps a lot of people realize na we can actually still enjoy the kind of food that we ate as non-vegans. Kasi nga, my God, alam mo Adrian, merong isaw na vegan, merong leche flan na vegan, may crispy pata, may barbecue. What's your favorite food na hindi vegan? Na hindi plant-based?
What's my favorite food na hindi plant-based? Well, you said bacon and
Okay,
steak. Basically, steak. I'm gonna, like, I am a meat eater. I'm so sorry. I eat dead animals, but yeah, there you go.
yun. We have vegan bacon, we have vegan steak, we have vegan fried chicken, and these are things that you can even make at home. So, pwede mo siyang bilhin kung tinatamad ka. Ako, tinatamad ako all the time. So, I buy from local small businesses who are vegan as well, who provide plant-based options to a lot of us. And it's not even, while there are expensive options, there are many others that are also affordable. No? So, anyway, yung mga plant-based na mga meats, it makes it it makes us realize na wow, we can actually live happy, indulgent lives if we want, and still enjoy the same flavors, the same textures that we used to enjoy as non-vegans. Wala tayong sense of deprivation. Hindi yung parang, oh, hindi ako makakakain ng ganito. No, actually, wala akong self-control, Adrian. I never dieted in my whole life. And yet, I'm actually happy as a vegan kasi nakakain ko lahat ng gusto. So, for anyone out there, Vlogga fam, huwag kayong matakot. Madali lang yan. If you need help, we can help you. We provide free mentorship for 30 days. All we need from you is your commitment that you do this for 30 days. And believe me, after 30 days, if you do this right, mawawala na yung addiction nyo to animals. Because you know what? Nako, Adrian, addicting yan, di ba? Imagine ganito. If I were to tell you na, oh no, the world is out of apples and oranges, you'll never eat another apple or orange in your life. You'll be like, oh really? Wow. Well, parang ganun lang, di ba? But imagine if I tell you, I'm sorry, we're out of pork and beef. And you'll never be able to eat this for the rest of your life. Di parang ikaw parang, what? Sandali, bibili na ako ng babala na ako ng mga delata ngayon. Parang mag-hoard ka bigla. Because you panic because we are addicted to these products, to animal flesh, to animal secretions. There's something about them that's addicting. We can go over that in a bit, or actually, kahit hindi natin i-discuss yun, basta this addiction for animal meat, for animal flesh and secretions is actually what makes us feel like we can't live without them, but actually we can. And it takes, they say it takes 21 days to get over these addictions. That's why most challenges, most programs involve 21 to 22 to 30 days, tulad nung ginagawa ng Manila Vegans ngayon na mentorship. So just
Well,
stick to that and kaya yan.
That's true because 21 days is also for you to develop a habit, which is
Right.
psychologically proven, everybody. But
Mhm.
also, it's so good to hear that there is a whole community dedicated out there to help you transition to that. And it is a difficult, ano, for me, I think it's just difficult because hindi lang tayo sanay, we just don't know. Pero ito din, no, hearing you all talk about options and so many things, parang we are led to believe, like right now, see, even I'm led to believe that being vegan is quite expensive. It's quite unreachable and inaccessible for a lot of people. So, can you give us an example of how, like, can you give us a glimpse of your 20 or 30-day mentorship? Like,
Hmm.
how do you
Right.
get us on the right track to actually, after realizing, for example, this is their first step, this is their paradigm
Mm.
shift, this is where
Okay.
they realized that it's time to go vegan because we want to make the world a better place because we believe in its mission and vision. What are the next steps to do that when we
Okay.
get into your program?
So first, I'd like to touch on what you said about it sort of being expensive. Parang expensive siya pakinggan, no? Pero when we go to restaurants, Adrian, nano-notice mo yung menu. But sometimes it's divided into seafood, meat, and
Yeah.
vegetables, dessert, di ba ganon? And usually when you notice it, yung vegetables are the ones that are less expensive. Sila yung mas mura. And when you go to the market, ano bang mas mura? Malunggay, kamote, patatas, or laman ng baboy, laman ng baka, laman ng manok. Meat is very expensive, and vegetables are actually cheaper in the Philippines. Maswerte tayo kasi tropical country tayo. Mura lang ang malunggay, ang okra, ang talong. Lahat yan pwedeng kainin ng kahit sino. Munggo, mura din. Tokwa, mura din. So, it doesn't have to be expensive. But having said that, there are expensive options for vegans. And this is not just true for vegans, even people who eat animals. May mga expensive din silang binibili. Bacon is not cheap. Steak
Yeah.
is not cheap. So, what matters more is that they know that they actually have options. And there are a lot of mock meats, yung mga plant-based na have the texture of animal flesh, na mura, like texturized vegetable protein or TVP. Yung isang pack nun na 500 grams is like 85 pesos from the vegan grocer. And pag pinakuluan mo yon, pag binabad mo sa mainit na tubig, it can yield about roughly 2 kilograms. So, imagine kung 85 pesos, saan aabot ang 85 pesos mo pagdating sa laman ng hayop? Hindi ka
Mm-mm.
makakahanap ng 2 kilo na ganon, di ba? Parang it's hard to find that. So, it's not true that it's always expensive. It can be if you want a certain indulgences. Kung gusto mo ng magnum na vegan, syempre mahal talaga yun. Pero it doesn't
Yeah.
have to be. So, maraming options dyan. Maraming plant-based options. Pwedeng mahal, pwedeng hindi. So, we are hoping that it becomes accessible to people who really want to do the right thing for the animals.
I think on that end, no, I think we should have
Mm-mm.
more on awareness, and we're doing our part. Congratulations, Bulaga family. This is our part of spreading
Right.
awareness of doing veganism. Because even up until now, kahit naman ako, parang this is new. They make it seem like, again, the society, maybe the capitalist, makes it seem like veganism is very expensive because they don't want their fast food chains to go to waste. They don't want McDonald's. They don't want Burger King. I'm sorry mentioning all
Oh,
them, but they don't want all those fast food chains to actually go, go luge on all of that. But that's a very that's good to know that there are very cheap options. And ikaw, Doc, since you told us you made plant, or what they call
plant milk.
milk,
Sorry,
plant milk.
Adrian. Isisingit ko lang kasi they might be curious magkano yung nagagastos ko. So when I was still eating animals, nung
Yeah.
non-vegan pa ako, ang budget ko usually is like 10,000 a month. Kasi I don't really, parang tamad ako. Sometimes I don't cook, so I just order out. So syempre mahal yung takeout, di ba? And that hasn't changed. I still don't cook a lot. Pero my budget is actually smaller. It's less. It's just 5,000 na lang kahit nakain ako ng kain sa labas. Because eventually, syempre mas nakakabusog ang mga halaman, di ba? So I eat a lot less. At the same time, I still get all the nutrients that I need. And natutuwa ako kasi in the Philippines, there are a lot of vegan vendors who are trying their best to provide all the options that we need and want at an affordable price. Napakarami nila. Nako, ang problema ko nga ngayon is I don't know how to sample all of their offerings kasi napakarami na ngayon. As in, ano
Wow.
yan, joke namin yan sa circles namin na parang, oh my God, meron namang bago, nakaka-stress naman. Parang, kailan ba matatapos tong ating to-do list tsaka yung gusto natin puntahan ng mga restaurants. Ganon. As in, lahat kasi halos meron na milk tea, burgers, pizzas. So you just call vegan vendors and they'll send it to you. Napaka-convenient na. And I'm just happy that it has gone so far, yung vegan movement in the Philippines. Kasi 9 years ago, 10 years ago, talagang whole food lang ang kinakain ng mga tao, mga gulay lang at saka mga prutas. But now, you know what, we have everything that we can eat that we want.
Wow. Okay. So before you, there's someone who sent you some shout out, Steph. Friend ko
Hello,
yan,
Ra.
is Rans. Okay. Also, there's another question for you, Doc. Here you go. Meron po bang vegan meal delivery plan? Ayan. Does
Oh,
your program start with that? Does your 30-day come with that? Maybe you should include that. Malay nyo
yeah.
naman.
Actually,
Partnering with,
marami. Maraming
oh,
mga vegan.
see,
Yeah, meron mga ano, may
Mama
mga gumagawa
Ace.
ng, ano yun?
No, sorry ko, Doc, Miss Ace, meron pala, meron mga vegan meal delivery plans pala.
Yes,
So like, yung parang mga
meron.
workout plans ba? Yung parang mga workout, di ba kasi mga
Meron
workout may
din.
delivery eh. Okay, Miss Ace, meron daw po. So
Meron yan.
ayun.
And
Ating
don't
vlog
worry
mamaya
about
po
your protein,
tayo.
you'll get it all.
Wow. Okay, this
Oh,
is I really okay. This is very interesting. I am like very one foot out the door in thinking about this. Since meron
mm,
palang community that would
talaga.
help you out doing that, diba? One more
Yes.
foot. One
Mm.
more let's keep shifting the paradigms here.
Okay.
But
Ito. May sasabihin pa ako para, ano, 3 more toes out the door ka na. So,
uh
in the door ka na. So, do you work out? Do
I
you like,
do
you do? Okay.
every
So,
day. Yeah.
addict din kasi ako. No? I've been working out for like, I think 2 years. So, ang favorite ko, mga deadlifts. Yung compound exercises. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So, of course, ang concern natin is, am I going to eat enough protein? Parang, I need, how many grams of protein do I need, etc. But, you know what? Even if I just ate plants, I grew a lot of muscles. I felt stronger. And napakaraming benefits ng plant-based diets. No? And a lot of bodybuilders and weightlifters and powerlifters actually are vegan. And many of the strong people who've won contests, who've won marathons, are actually vegan. So talagang nakakalakas siya apparently. No? If we compare our non-vegan selves to our vegan selves, there can be a benefit in terms of health and fitness. But I have to be clear as well that these benefits are just side benefits. Maswerte tayo na ganun yung nangyayari. But it doesn't always happen to all people. Kasi marami naman dyan junk food vegans. I mean, if you ate a lot of junk food as a non-vegan, malamang kung naging vegan ka, ganun pa rin yun.
Well,
We,
baka doon pa rin ako mapupunta pag naging vegan na ako.
oh, actually,
Baka doon pa rin.
ako rin naman, ako rin naman
I might happen
ko,
to.
junk food vegan din ako, no? Pero even then, kahit na puro junk food yung kainin mo, your junk food
It's
vegan
still
self is still going to be better
healthier than
than your
your
junk food
junk food self.
non-vegan
Yeah.
self. Yes. So, kumbaga, no need to worry for people who are working out, who are worried about, becoming stronger, growing muscles. We've got you covered, Blaga fam.
Okay. Wow. So I think we just really have to work on getting this kind of message to all the people around there. Na parang it's a lifestyle switch, but it is with the word here, no? I love saying this word because this is what we have to aim for. Sustainable living. As humans, we have to build a world, no, that will last us longer than what we think we're happening right now. Look at us
Yeah.
now. In a
Meron tayong
pandemic,
parang
di ba?
2050 yung deadline na sinasabi nila. A lot of studies are saying that the oceans will be out of fish by 2050, that we will have reached the tipping point in terms of the climate crisis when we reach 2050. Parang common sa lahat ng mga studies regardless of what environmental crisis it is, yung 2050 as a date, and that's like 30 years away. And you know what? Yung animal agriculture is one of the top drivers of climate change. In fact, pag pinagsama-sama mo lahat ng sasakyan, lahat ng cars, trucks, buses, trains, ships, pag sama-samahin mo sila, ipunin mo yung lahat ng combustion nila, lahat ng greenhouse gases that they produce, mas marami pa rin ang pinoproduce na greenhouse gases ng
Ng
cows
food,
alone.
animals.
Yes, cows
Okay.
alone yan, na wala pang pigs, wala pang chickens. So just imagine, how can we sustain this kind of living where we keep consuming more animals? Kasi parami ng parami yan by the year. So we
And
have
we
it.
also disrupt, no, like sorry, we also disrupt their life cycle. Like the more that we breed them, the more that their genetics also change quickly and
Yes,
rapidly.
yes. Actually, a lot of the
Ah,
animals right now that we consume have been bred to be like that. Kunyari yung mga chickens, some of the chickens are bred to lay hundreds of eggs. Pero normally, in 1 year, dapat 12 eggs lang they would only lay 12 eggs. So in other words, meron ng selective breeding na nangyayari. And this is so harmful. This is such a pity. We do these heinous things to animals. And kawawa sila kasi pati yung mga katawan nila bumibigay na. Kasi of course, imagine manganak ka more than you should. Siyempre talagang kawawa yung katawan mo. So yeah, it impacts not just the planet and not just animals, but pala, I would like to insert pati humans. Um, Animal consumption has been linked to like 9 causes of death, premature death, according to a study by the National Institutes of Health. Yung study na to, it involves information from like 500,000 participants. Napakalaki nitong study na to, no? So they found out that if you consume animals, regardless of whether it's white meat or red meat, as long as it comes from an animal, you are at risk of dying early from Alzheimer's, cancer, diabetes, stroke, infections, diseases of the heart, lungs, liver, and kidneys. Yeah, memoryado ko pa.
yes.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
So,
Yeah.
so imagine we have a lot of loved ones who died before they should. And it's all because we were led to believe that when we eat animals, if we take our protein from animals, that we would live longer, happier lives, that it's healthy for us. But it's all a sham. We are actually dying because of it. So it's not just the animals who are dying. It's like because we're causing them to die, we're causing ourselves to die, we're causing the planet to die. It's a cycle of death, and we have to stop this. And it starts with how we think about animals, and the next step is what we put on our plates.
That is okay. So this is so I'm nangilabot dun sa term na yun, but this is like this is where we could. This is one step for man and a giant leap for humankind if you do this. I think
Mm.
that's a very relatable quote for us to say now. Because this is a imagine this now when we jump into this, if our 2 feet are on the door, which I'm almost there, let's get to it. Let's research more, get to know, and do this in your own time and your own pace. But this is the message. If you were looking for a sign blogger fam now, this is it. Maybe get to know more. Maybe connect yourself with Dr. Stef here and their community if you want to join their 30-day program of getting you into
Mhm.
veganism and teaching you all the ways that you could do it as well, the more sustainable way and all that. But this is you're doing this for the future. We're all doing this for the future if you want to be part of it, if you know all that. So that is
If you want to
just so
have a future,
yes, if you want your
to have a
children to have a
future.
future, yeah, everybody else, we have to start. You have to start somewhere, and this is a step. So if you
Mm.
guys are looking for that sign, this is it. But before no, Doc, before and I'll give you at least two more questions on all those. I would want to ask you, what are some things that people should be ready for when they start changing what they put on their plates. What did you experience at first? Kasi parang, syempre, ito yung mga misconceptions. Baka manghina ako, baka
Mm-mm.
mag-a-adjust yung katawan ko, may withdrawal ba to, mayroon ba tong
Mm-mm.
from meat? Kasi anything that you've been doing excessively way before, since nga na-addict ka, that is true naman to a lot of things. There will always be relapses and withdrawal feeling of, oh my goodness, there's
Yeah.
something that's right. Yeah.
Okay. So, syempre, while somebody is trying, when somebody is addicted to something, and then all of a sudden they go cold turkey, um, they go they quit cold turkey, they may experience withdrawal symptoms. But again, that's when it's more important to have social and moral support. Kasi kunyari, it's the same with any kind of addiction. If somebody who's addicted to substances and drugs starts having withdrawal symptoms, starts seeking out drugs again, mas mahalaga na at that point merong social support system para alagaan siya, para i-guide siya, and to remind that person, why are you doing this in the first place? What is your why? So when they remember this, they can stick to the program. And it's also important, kunyari, ang kinikrave nila is, kunyari, yung favorite mo, bacon.
Yes.
It helps to see that there are actually plant-based options in the market, like bacon. Maraming nagbibigay ng vegan bacon, no? It different kinds. So, parang ano din sa opiate addiction, when somebody is addicted to opiates, binibigyan nila kasi ng alternative na drug which doesn't cause addiction but which actually relieves the withdrawal. So we have that kind of program. That's part of going vegan, no? Parang binibigyan mo yung sarili mo ng alternative para hindi ka na bumalik dun sa kinaadikan mo in the first place. And going forward dun sa mga tinanong mo, like what things do they need to know? So one thing they need to understand is that many of the things we think about our diets are actually not entirely true. Kunyari, maririnig natin na, may gout si ganito ganyan. Dapat hindi kumain ng monggo at dapat hindi kumain ng tokwa. We hear that a lot, right? But
Yeah, yeah.
oh, yeah, but the thing is actually what causes and triggers the gout is what we add to the mongo and what we add to the tokwa. So in mongo, we add chicharon or tinapa or bagoong, which comes from fish. And in terms of tokwa, hindi lang kasi tokwa yun, tokwat baboy yun eh. So may baboy siya.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
those things that actually trigger gout. And for a lot of people who have gout, I have hyperuricemia with symptoms of gout. I used to have that before I went vegan. So when people like me go vegan and we eat a plant-based diet, kahit na puro munggo yan, kahit puro tokwa yan, as long as walang laman ng hayop, and we also avoid triggers like beer, we won't have symptoms of gout. So even non-vegan doctors like endocrinologists know this and they tell their patients this. Even the Facebook page of Philippine ano ang tawag dito, PGH, Philippine Government Hospital. Ano ba to? Talagang kailangan ko pa isipin. They actually say and they remind their patients na hindi totoo yung mga ganon, no, those are just myths, fallacies lang sila. Another thing that they need to remember is that protein, it's something we get from plants. Like, surprise, surprise, horses and gorillas and giraffes
Get it
out
from
eat.
plants.
Yes, they eat grass. And they look muscular to me. Malalaki sila, di ba? So even if they consume plants, they thrive. And in the same manner, we can also survive and thrive on plants alone. For a lot of people who go vegan, many of their illnesses even get reversed. Not all, but a lot. For me, I reversed my hyperglycemia, my hyperuricemia, my hypercholesterolemia. I even had symptoms of arthritis. Like I said, nawala din yun. So talagang malaking tulong siya. And one of the things also that would provide a benefit to a lot of people is that pag kumain ka kasi ng halaman, di ba nakakabusog siya. It makes you feel full. So you tend to eat fewer calories on a plant-based diet. So imagine that you're still eating and stuffing your face with all the food that you like, pero unti-unti kang naglo-lose ng weight that might be harmful to you. So those
And it's
are,
still a yeah, and it's still a
oh,
caloric deficit, eh. Kasi kung pinalitan mo na siya ng plant, tas kahit sobrang dami, kahit bundat ka na, hindi rin siya abot dun sa dati mong kinakain na non-vegan
yeah.
calorie, 'di ba? Okay,
Yeah,
interest
aside from the caloric deficit, it's also about caloric density. Kasi may studies that show that if you eat
okay.
two types of food na pareho sila ng calories, yung whole food will not give you the same amount of fat deposition or fat weight as the processed type of meal, kahit na pareho sila ng calories. So, imagine puro halaman yung kinakain mo. So, yung caloric density niya mas maganda kumpara dun sa yung puro processed lang. So, all those things put together, pati lahat ng mga antioxidants, mga phytonutrients, the fiber, all of it put together, my God. I mean, it can save us from a lot of grief as humans. Imagine hospitals no longer, imagine humans no longer suffering from lifestyle diseases, which are, by the way, the top killers all over the world, lifestyle diseases.
Yeah.
Imagine nawawala yun onti-onti, no? Kasi we no longer consume animals. It's like liberating everyone from animals to humans and even our planet. So I really hope, Laga fam, that you join Manila Vegans, ask for a mentor. It's free. They will even customize, they will even personalize your mentor for you. So, kunyari, mahilig ka mag-gym. Ang ima-match sa'yo na mentor, yung mahilig din mag-gym. O kunyari, may budget ka, ay ma-match din sa'yo yung marunong mag-budget. Ganun. So, I hope, Adrian, that your listeners right now really think about going vegan. We are running out of time.
There is at least, guys, I that now you know that there is another, or there is a community out there ready to support you, help you in this change. So I hope this really just changes some paradigms for all of you. But Doc, before now we end everything, I am grateful for your time here. This is very, very, a lot of value bombs are here. That was so
Mm.
much to learn tonight. I was so like, kahit ako napapatanong, napapaano, is a very, very full of knowledge an episode. But before you all know, can you tell us, the audience, what are your advice to people who wants to get started on veganism? And also, can you tell us where we could follow and support you? Tell us more for your community. And you can also plug no yung mga local vegan sellers natin here
Ako
that
madami.
yeah,
Okay.
okay lang.
Sige, sige.
You have all the
Okay.
time. I'll give you the stage. I'll
Okay.
go a bit backstage, and you're gonna have your solo up in here. So tell us all about that. Go hard, yeah, and go hard tayo at the end of
Okay.
it. So thank
I'll
you.
try to remember everyone, no? Pero before that, I'd like to say hi to my mom because she's watching. And I love you, Mom. You're everything. Um, my mom's going through a hard time right now because her mom, my grandmother, just passed away a few days ago. So medyo malungkot kami lahat. So I'd like to say hi to everybody sa De Vera clan. Sige na, mag-vegan na rin kayo. Sige, padaliin natin. No? Having said that, thank you to everybody who's listening and who's tuning in. I hope that you picked up something from this discussion. I hope I made you think about it. Um, Let it simmer in your mind. Make the decision soon. We can help you. We can join Manila Vegans on Facebook. That's Manila Vegans. So just find it on Facebook. It's a group. If you join, you have to answer 3 questions, and that's it. You're in. And then ask for a mentor, and they'll give it to you for free. So imagine that, nandyan na lahat ng tulong na kailangan if you really are interested in aligning your actions with your values. So something I'd like to tell everybody listening in right now. So inherently, I know that you don't want to hurt animals. So if you were to witness them being hurt, magi-intervene kayo, sasaklolo kayo, di ba? So imagine when we were watching Finding Nemo, yung animation na movie, we didn't want Nemo to be captured by the scuba diver. Gusto natin, mahanap siya ng tatay niya instead of used as entertainment by the dentist and his niece, di ba? We wanted Nemo to be the winner. And yet, right after that movie, I am sure that we all ate fish, not realizing that we were acting just like the bad guys in the movie. And when we were watching Ratatouille, alam niyo yun, yung may bida na daga, we were rooting for Remy, the rat who could cook. Gusto natin, hindi siya mahuli dun sa kitchen, di ba? Gusto natin makapagluto pa rin siya. Gusto natin maging masaya siya. And we and yet when we go home, we wouldn't have thought twice about how so many rats are being used in drug experiments. Experiments which we might not even need if only we didn't get lifestyle diseases from consuming animals to begin with. So it's a paradox. So I'd like everybody to think about why your heart tells you that you want animals to win in those movies. Then think about why you want those very same animals dying for you in real life. Why is there such a divide? So, this is one way that we can face our own biases so that our biases are revealed to us, so that we can finally realize that actually we have always been vegan at heart. We just need to be reminded. So, in terms of vegan vendors, we have right now I'm in Green Bar. This is in Makati. They are a vegan restaurant, so everything here is vegan. Meron tayong Greenery Kitchen, meron tayong Cosmic, Indulge. Oh my God, nakaka-pressure. Sino ba yung mga vegan vendors? Friends, help me. Um, I'm sure hindi ko sila maiisip lahat. Ang dami. Please go to Manila Vegans and use the search bar for anything that you want to eat. Meron doon, nakasulat doon. It's sort of like, para siyang Google para sa akin, no? The search bar in Manila Vegans. So, kung gusto ko ng pizza, itatype ko doon pizza, lalabas lahat ng pizza. So, ganon. Kasi nagpo-post yung mga tao, di ba? Even ice cream, even leche flan nga na kinain ko ng sobrang bilis. And if you have more questions, if you please ask us at Manila Vegans, and you can also connect with me. Iisa lang ang username ko kasi alam ko mahirap magtanda ng mga username. So on Instagram, on Twitter, I'm Stef de la Cruz MD. So yung Stef ko is spelled with the letter F. So Stef with an F, Stef de la Cruz MD. I also have a website, stefdelacruz.com. I talk about veganism there. Among other things, marami tayong pinag-uusapan doon because we have to remember when we're vegans, our issues intersect with many others. So we have to talk about those too. Um, if if you have any other questions, we are taking them live right now. Wala na?
Yeah,
Okay,
you
wala
guys
na.
have one. Okay. All
Thank
right. Wow,
you.
that is. See that was it. You went home and you went hard for that. Thank you so
Yes.
much, Dr. Steph. That was so much. This has been a very, very full of knowledge kind of night, and I'm glad that we have you and we had you here. So thank you,
Thank you,
everybody.
Adrian, for
Thank you for your
having
time.
me. Thank you, Blogofam. Thank you, Blogapalooza.
And with all that, I want to say thank you, Blogafam, for joining us, and goodbye. And this is not the end. You can search Manila Vegans again, and we'll see you soon.
Yes,
Good
good
night.
night.
Good
Goodbye.
night. Goodbye. Okay.